Hey everyone, it's Elizabeth here. So I just wanted to do this quick video in regards to kind of my unusual path and involvement into overcoming SAD or the seasonal affective disorder. I know that now that we're transitioning into the winter time, a lot of people are struggling with this. And a lot of my clients or friends that I have, they kind of talk about how they're sick of the weather in the Pacific Northwest and they want to move or leave. So here's a little bit of a background on my story, and it's a very unusual way of overcoming this seasonal problem. So here's the thing. You have a sleep-wake cycle in your body called the circadian rhythm. So when there's more light exposed, your body is releasing different hormones versus when it's dark outside. When it's dark outside, you're releasing melatonin, which we do naturally, which helps you want to go to sleep at night. So the most interesting thing is when I did move to the Pacific Northwest, I despised the winters for probably about the first 2, maybe 3 years. So when I came here, I did move to the Northwest in 2010, but moving to Seattle specifically when it gets dark at like 4 o'clock, and if it's gloomy and rainy, then you can start seeing the darkness start to set in at 2:33. That can be very challenging. So your body does physiologically adapt differently when it's a dark, gloomy day versus if it is a bright and sunny day. Now, the most interesting part of all of this is that there's a lot of qualities within our human nature that can help overcome seasonal affective disorder. So you can take things like more of vitamin D and just B vitamins in general, which help with energy. You can also do what a lot of the people in Scandinavia do, which is get these therapeutic lamp lights for your desk at work and at home. So those are things that you can do. But honestly, my body right now is so synced up to the weather and the climate that it roots to being very connected to nature, and it roots to having a very strong spiritual foundation and kind of this belief in God. So the more that I became spiritual, or the more I connected to God and the light, I actually stopped noticing if it's a sunny or a rainy day. I stopped kind of noticing the seasonal shifts and transitions. Years ago, 10 years ago, I'd be really depressed at this point in time. I'd be happy because it'd be the holiday season, but I'd be like, oh man, there's no leaves on the trees and things like that. So the more that I grew myself and evolved myself spiritually, the more I started to sync up with nature. So I started to embrace the winter because I'm usually a really high energetic person. So for me in the summertime, it's go, go, go. I don't need as much food. I don't need as much sleep. And that is very common with anybody who is synced up to the climate in the summer, but also people who live in warmer climates. I mean, obviously there's a reason why smoothies and avocados are so abundant in diets in places like in Hawaii and California versus somewhere in the Yukon where they're really eating hearty food probably all year round. So the energetics of the climate does affect things in terms of the season and the reason for what you eat and what the land cultivates at that point in time. But I would say that the more spiritual I became, my lens switched and changed. I started to look at the winter season as my season of rest, relaxation, and hibernation, the same as what the animals do in nature for hibernation. So this is a time for me to really focus on some of my work, like my blogging, sitting at a cafe on a rainy day, drinking a latte in the afternoon while writing, some inspirational stuff does have its nice romantic part of it. Obviously I don't want to spend too much time doing that in the summertime because I'd rather be outside or, hanging out with friends or going to a barbecue or something like that. So, there are these shifts where it's like, okay, I'm kind of in hibernation mode, but I'm also in a little bit more of a work mode. And when you can start to switch your perception and embrace the changes, you just really realize like this is just a part of life, and that is a part of our existence that's really special, because in order for the new things to grow and cultivate, the old things have to die out. It's a very esoteric or pagan type of perception and point of view, but there is magic and beauty in the winter. I mean, something such as like the Northern Lights, the most abundant in the winter season. Or walking around with snow on top of pine trees is absolutely so stunning and beautiful. You know, people love skiing and snowboarding and outdoor sports. So there is a lot of great things that happen still in the winter time, including the heart and home, or the heart and hearth of the home. Like, how many of us want to start hunkering down and start baking and cooking apple cider, or just sitting in front of a fireplace with a movie and a hot cocoa? You know, like that type of stuff is really fun. Obviously, if you lived in that, 10 of the 12 months a year, it would get a little exhausting. So I would say that, if you can embrace nature for what it is, the lessons, the reasons of the seasons, in addition to just enjoying nature more. Like, I'm originally from Cleveland, so scraping your car and having your car, scraping ice off of your car and having your car heat up for 15 minutes in the morning is really annoying. It does get taxing and tiring, but honestly, it's just a part of life, and I think it's a form of acceptance. So when you can accept that this might affect you, seasonal affective disorder affects you, you can begin to kind of alter and switch your lens and perception. So if you have 5 people looking at a glass that's filled halfway up with water, everyone's going to look at that glass a little differently. They're going to see it as half full, half empty, something in between the two. So I would suggest, if you are really struggling, you can do some form of energetic work through this time as well. I find a lot of growth and involvement through things like acupuncture and massage therapy. It really helps. But I would just start to really dive deep into some of the natural law. Like, maybe you're reading about it, or maybe you start reading some spiritual texts. Like, obviously that's not for everybody, but I think we are just becoming so vain and superficial and so caught up in consumerism that we're really losing touch with like the focus and the reason for this type of season. And I think you can learn a lot from not only from like the Christian roots, but also mainly the pagan roots. The pagans are very connected to this culture, very connected to the solstices and the energy of the land. I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but one thing that I've read, the reason why we have flying reindeer, it's because like the Vikings would be high off of mushrooms in nature and have this vision of like their reindeer flying through the sky. So maybe that is, part of the reason of why we have reindeer on Santa's sleigh. But honestly, it's kind of interesting when you dive deep to learn the history of what is going on at the darkest time of the year. In how we get the holidays. It kind of brings a little bit more joy to this type of season. And try to enjoy some of the Christmas lights. I know we don't do it as much now as, things. When I was a kid, everybody had Christmas lights up in the 80s and early 90s, and now it's kind of like half and half. People are kind of losing touch of their soul. But, just embracing the light that is within the darkness, and a lot of that has to do with the holiday lights. So this is kind of a non-traditional video, kind of a quick thought on this. And if you have any other tips or ideas on how you've overcome the winter season or the SAD disorder, definitely let me know. But I think getting in touch with nature in this time of year is very, very special and important. All right, have a great day. See you later. Bye.